shocking, I know.
It
Hard to
was
know
by invitation, or you could submit, you had to apply, and
Oh.
so it was all over.
So that's how they
We
knew that
had
the
some
kids could
from
sing
Pleasantville.
before.
I
Okay.
know Steve Campbell's kids were in it.
Oh, cool.
So,
How do they, the people that they invite from all over the world, how do they get a seat there? And who are they unseating to get?
they have enough people to miss.
And they have to buy them a dress. I wanted to know all those kind of
I'm
details.
sure that, yeah, they do good with the dress and everything.
Yeah. Then they get to keep
I
it
wish they
forever.
had- Wish they put tags on them so you knew who they were.
And
I'm
where
sure
they're
they'd give them
from.
some.
Honestly, no, but it would be cool.
Yeah.
They highlighted them all. I mean,
I feel like they gave them some good
picture of
camera time, yeah.
Well,
So-
you can't, when they're singing, you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Unless you know people in the choir, but.
That's why when I see the one person I know,
I know, huh?
I feel like a celebrity knowing a celebrity.
I do too.
Kelly Bates.
Hi there. Thanks for being here.
You can already tell how much better, there's no weird.
I know, this is new.
So they made the speakers over here a little more quiet than over there, so they wouldn't snag onto the mics, and
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So good.
I'm excited.
No kidding.
I see they're on-
To all those on Zoom,
They can hear
welcome.
now? Really?
My voice is very-
I wanna Zoom just to try it out. I'm just gonna go to the next
Phil
room
is
and Zoom.
zooming in, yeah.
Give one shot.
Hi, Phil, and you can try to talk. We do have a new sound system aside from the microphone, so maybe it'll work awesome.
Maybe you say.
Phil, are you listening? You there, Phil?
He has. Kennedy picked the night to be here. Oh, it doesn't show his audio
Hi, Sarah.
connected
How are
yet.
ya?
It's probably still connecting.
Good.
Phil and Sarah?
Anytime anybody listens to the meetings, they're like, we can hear Amy maybe. I've just never been a quiet person.
What is this?
Oh, hi, Phil. Can you hear us?
You got like 30 seconds. Yes.
We're on the new sound system, so you should try to talk and see how it
Okay.
works.
Yeah, I was just wondering, can you hear me? Test, test, test.
Yep, we're not hearing you. Well, we have these fancy knobs. Oh, it says it.
Can you
It
hear
says
the
it up
wild
there.
deer?
If you can keep
But
it,
they teach you how to run.
that's the problem.
They- for real, so you
Is
can-
it-
You want me to hit him? I'm sitting right here. I can like.
We had a 5-minute.
But if it dies.
Our city ordinance does, but the state.
Little tutorial.
As long as it dies in your yard.
But if the state says you can't,
No.
It's their protection, their
No.
control.
I'll ask the DWR guy.
We can issue. Safe from that.
Really?
But-
That's what I wonder how we're doing 50 of them.
But you can't.
Test, test.
If you shoot it, it dies in-
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, we can hear you good too. Can you hear me,
Neat.
Phil?
You guys can plan on never seeing me in person again, if that's the case.
Can you hear me as good as you can hear Amy? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, no, actually, loud and clear. It's perfect.
Wow.
You're recording?
We are.
All right, let's get started. We'll call to order this regular meeting of the Pleasant City Council this Tuesday, October 8th, 2024, 6 p.m. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully there's some others joining us. Bill is joining us by Zoom. We'll start with item 1, pledge of allegiance. Opening prayer, reading, or expression of thought. Councilmember Phil. Johnson.
You want me to do that from here? I can.
Got a flag right behind you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got a flag here. All right, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful to be gathered here together as a city council and the opportunities we've been given to act on behalf of this city. And we would ask thee that during this meeting we be blessed with thy spirit, that we might be able to make the decisions that would be prudent for those that we've been entrusted to act on behalf of, and that we might be guided in making the decisions that would best benefit our city. And please bless our first responders, protect them, and watch over them. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
That sounds a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, this is so exciting.
Phil, can you hear?
Can you hear us better?
Yep, I got everybody but the mayor. I think his mic might be up a little. I can still hear him, but yeah,
All right, item one, is that better?
perfect.
Item 1B, declaration of conflicts of interest. Any conflicts to declare? On the agenda, none?
No.
1C, public comments or questions for the mayor or council. Anybody wish to? Okay, we'll move on to consent items. 2A is the bills of Holy City, and 2B is the minutes of June 11th, 2024, and September 10th, 2024, and a closed set from September 10th. Any questions, corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll second the motion. Motion by Arrington, second by Marriott. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3 is Far West Industrial Subdivision Plat. Discussion and possible consideration to approve a subdivision plat for the Far West Industrial Subdivision located at approximately 1900 west and 2800 north. No, I guess. Amy,
there's no presenter.
the presenter. will
It's
just-
me. I'm sorry. I forgot to put myself as the presenter, but you're gonna get stuck hearing from me the whole meeting, so I wanted to save you some pain or get you here at the meeting. So before you this evening is an item that went to planning commission almost a year ago, and it's not a delay from staff on this item. But rather we're waiting, and developer determined that they still wanted to move forward with the condition that we're waiting upon. So there's some property owned by the rail line that we've actually worked with the petitioner, the developer, to look at getting purchased. They've got a process that's a little bit slow via
Just
certified
maybe
mail.
clarification that it's owned by UP, but it's not the rail line.
Yes, correct. Thank you
It's-
so much, Mayor. So and really, they didn't know that they owned the property. So in designing the new road, that's the joint road with Far West, they, in looking at the plats, we determined that, oh, UP owns just a portion slip of this property. And they do have a process to purchase that. We're looking to purchase it at the north end. This development group is actually pursuing that. And then also at the south end, and that application's moving a little bit slower than this other. They said it can take 6 to 9 months. The application has been in about 7 months, but when we discovered this about a year ago, when this first preliminary was approved before this came to city council, the development was prepared to wait for this. However, they'd asked for forward progression on this with the condition that ultimately we'd need to get that property from the rail line to install the road. And we do have pretty good confidence that there is some willingness to do that. There is a process in place. But again, we wouldn't want to get a determination upon somebody else's property. So it would be a conditional approval. And then there were a couple of red lines with engineering that we just needed to verify. Just from a process standpoint and with the update to our subdivision code. So the preliminary of this does come here, and that's what we're looking at this evening for the subdivision plat. And then ultimately the final approval will go through the DRC. And so this is the final action from the council on this item. So I don't know if there's any specific questions. This does establish the road in compliance with our road standards and the plans, and then also creates a subdivision that kind of crosses up north of ours and south into Far West with their portion. It's kind of a unique subdivision.
Questions?
So I'm looking at the last page, page 7, that shows the area the small piece that's on page 3,
Is it everything in the bold on that page 3?
so what,
Is it?
so is.
So the page 3 is the area for the zoning, and so that's just where the zone lies, it's the MP1.
Because of the
And so you can kind of see the horseshoe pond below that, and then there's actually oh, I'm so sorry, Mayor, if I cut you off, the city lines that are kind of there at the bottom on that dotted line, and
I
that's
think the
where it's in
confusion
West.
is on page 7, the vicinity map. That's just showing us the area and what's by it.
So,
That's
That is not what
below-
we're, because that,
below the area.
so the,
Yeah.
yeah,
Page
the-
7 is the area.
I
below.
understand that, but where in conjunction is this? I just don't know where that.
So let me pull up a map on GeoGizmo, I
This-
think that might be
this is the,
more helpful, and the map is a
if you
little
look
bit
at,
unclear because it is
So,
gray.
so is that for our Parkland project or
yeah,
to have the road? Is that what that?
I don't know.
So
That's the
it's
voice.
not that road, this is the joint project with Far West, and that's what the interlocal is on the agenda
Why are
as
you
well.
showing the portion that's below it on page 7?
So the reason why is, so the development that's coming forward, and this is just the vicinity for where the new road will be, it contains
And the new road's gonna be the Weber County funded road,
correct,
that
that
goes
and
on
and
the
developer.
the north
exactly.
side of the pond.
if you
correct?
look at the bottom line on this page 3, that line on the bottom is dang near where
Yeah,
the road's
so-
gonna go.
So it's right here in the.
Okay.
That.
So this is
Page
the parcel,
But
Yeah,
but,
so if you look
but
at-
it also
you
includes
can
the
see the-
establishment of the road here.
bottom of that is-
Oh, I'm so sorry, Phil, let me share my screen. You can't see me if I don't share.
So that's
okay.
gonna go over there. by
Which parcel is it?
So it's this parcel up
Okay,
here,
okay.
but it's also, they're looking to develop down here as well, and so that's where it gets a little bit,
But that's
it's in Far West.
but this map includes those 2 big parcels to the,
Correct, and
which
so.
is the Boyer Bailey.
So, yeah, so this
thi-
has nothing
is
to
not
do,
the Boyer,
this
this
has
is what's
nothing to do with the Point
confusing.
North. Okay, that's what I was,
This is not that, so his name is Jared Boyer.
Oh,
I
Those
know, but it's next
parcels-
to the Boyer. So this one right here is, part of Boyer, but this over here is the Far West
Yeah,
Industrial.
but
Mm.
this includes this map includes all of them.
Well, that's the zone, that's a
So-
map of the zone.
so what part of does UP own? I just,
And does this commit us to?
because
I don't see it.
I thought UP was clear up on the other side.
UP owns a tiny strip across, and what they need to secure, so they've worked out all of the details in order to get the road in place, but in order to utilize this property, they need the road. And so UP owns a strip right here, and so in order to get the road across, we need to secure that, and it also continues down below as well, and we're working on an application with that. And so this is kind of where the projected road will go. This is the property in question, but it's connected with this development to the south, so that's just kind of
So
a
it's just a
communicative
triangle
thing.
piece.
Exactly, they call it the shark fin.
Yeah.
But
That looks
it's
good.
kind of this upper,
Yeah.
the shark fin, the upper portion, and so in order to get access to this, they need the road in place, and so that's kind of why trying to house all of that, but ultimately, what you're looking to approve is the subdivision for this piece here, which would include the installation of our road here, and they've worked out all the details with the property owner surrounding in order to get that across and achieved, except for
That
UP,
piece right
who
there.
owns this weird little spot that we're
Okay.
So
working
who's
through the
gonna
details.
help pay for that, acquiring the access, from UP?
So the developer actually has applied to pay for that. So,
It should be.
so the way that the road costs are structured with our grant from WACOG, it is a $5.4 million grant, which is huge. But it also, it plans for developer participation, and so developers still need to participate, but the cities themselves would have kind of our portion covered in order to get the road installed.
So, okay.
Does the UP piece go all the way up along that too? I mean, is where
It,
that,
it does, and it goes all the way down as well. So with the lower portion, we're actually asking the question, how much, and this is a separate item.
because that was a canal.
How much
there.
of this, can be purchased. There's still a canal
So
portion
the
as
the
well.
canal part of that,
But they've worked with the canal company and that's been addressed,
The
so.
developer.
Exactly, so that's not an issue, but the portion owned by UP that's on the plat map is the issue. And
Yeah.
needs to be resolved, but again, I think there's some pretty good confidence it's resolvable because there are no tracks in the area and they didn't even know they owned it before being contacted.
I bet
But
they
it
are.
still is a lengthy federal process in order to accomplish that.
I thought it was closer to the tracks. I mean, you say UP.
I know,
Mhm.
it's a funky little area.
They,
that's-
I just tell, man, they probably have property all
Yeah.
over the country like this.
Somehow got.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they anticipated, you know,
Plus, there could have been tracks there
Yeah,
100 years ago. I don't know.
They owned
could-
a
could
lot of
have
that
it,
area
yeah.
anyway, and that just somehow didn't.
there
get
was
resolved.
tracks through there. I bet there was tracks at one
And
time.
back when Ogden was its highlight.
Amy,
And Pleasant View stops right where your cursor is, correct?
yes, this is the line right here. And that's where, I mean, there's a lot of coordination and we'll get into that on another agenda item with Far West ongoing because this is a singular developer looking to kind of go across both and create one cohesive development.
So the motion you're looking for is a motion with the, yeah, with
You
What-
say there was a
Cat-
provision?
Comments and red lines and everything.
Yeah. that's probably the simplest way to do it, yeah.
the recommendations from the planning commission, have we addressed any of those? I mean, it looks like,
So the
there's multiple-
recommendation from the planning commission, these were the different conditions of approval and I somewhat inherited this project from, our prior planner, Brandon. So these are the different items that, we'd need to go through and make clarification that they've occurred. So I'd recommend approving with the conditions and then we can go through with the DRC to ensure that everything has occurred. And then the other, again, just with the rail item.
so like, bullet point 3 there, applicant needs to provide a will serve letter for culinary water and secondary water. things
And
like
that has occurred.
That has occurred,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm. So some of these have, but I again, just as a checkpoint, would like to look at having kind of included to ensure that we make sure we get all of those addressed. And, the planning commission did recommend approval
It's up to the-
unanimously. There wasn't, yeah.
Okay.
Seems like there's a lot of to-do stuff. I know you said some of these have been, but haven't we gotten into trouble proving things before? I don't know,
Yeah,
before it's,
So of these, some have been completed, but not.
Yes, yes. And I would say probably the majority have completed. Just with timeline, and I'll be completely, upfront with it. I haven't had time to go through with the DRC group to verify completion of these. And so that's where I'd feel most comfortable having these included. I think majority have. I mean, this is a year ago. And last time that I talked with Brandon about getting it on an agenda, it didn't sound like there were any outstanding items. It was just more waiting on the rail thing.
So if
And-
we, oh, sorry.
Oh, go for
I
it.
was just gonna say, so if we make our motion with that provisional that those have all been met, we could include that in there.
Yes,
So
and-
safe about that?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel very safe about that. And really, I think majority of these have been completed. I just don't feel comfortable speaking to, I know that the will serves have been provided, but I don't feel comfortable speaking to each individual item without talking to the DRC and ensuring they're satisfied as a group.
So then Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plot for Far West Industrial Subdivision located at 1900 West and 2800 North. Contingent upon meeting all of the planning commission's recommendations, the engineer's red lines, and, any recommendations that, as noted by the.
Do we need to call out the railroad specifically?
It's included in the conditions.
Do I have a motion?
there are 10 of those items, just the bullet points, just to clarify.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? I think, this will probably go forward. I have no
problem with that, but we had such talks with Far West before on other things that got into a lot of weeds.
Mhm.
And I have not looked honestly at our number 5, but there was a ton of stuff that, we tried to put some of these things together and they said, no, Far West wouldn't agree. And so I hope that we're not getting ahead of ourselves with this.
The three governmental agencies.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think.
I don't know,
think
I
we're
just,
good.
I mean, I have no problem with, having this go forward with the things that you're talking about with the red lines, but
So
I don't know,
yeah, and I guess I just clarify with that a little bit. So with regard to this proposal, I mean, this was approved at Planning Commission a year prior. And so any issues or items relative to, coordination with Far West, this is all about meeting our code.
Okay, so-
There really haven't been any, and at that time weren't any specific concessions or anything recommended or requested, frankly. And we're asking them to meet our zoning requirements and to meet our code regardless in what section the shark fin area is of our city. And we've
do we
reiterated
know
that
how
to
much
developments.
the bottom development's gonna affect that? Or is it gonna be two separate? Are we going to combine them at some point to have one?
So they're not gonna be in one city. There's no annexation plan changes to that. So what's going to ultimately happen, and I really can't speak to the specifics on what's gonna happen
Yeah.
in the Far West area, but is that they're gonna ultimately have some type of connecting point, and we've requested and required that they meet the zoning standards in our code. I know that there were some discussions, well, would it be possible to annex this portion? And the answer was no, that's not in our annexation plan, that's part of our city. And so there will need to be some delineation on, if there is some type of commercial, that's tax
Yeah.
revenue that comes to Pleasant View. It's something that's a benefit to Pleasant View. And I will say the development group and Far West have been quite decent in working with, but again, we're not asking for anything separate or outside of our code.
Okay, as long,
And
How will it be recorded then, if it's in two different municipalities?
so they have to get subdivision approval from both of the cities. And then it will be recorded, but they will still have the line.
yeah.
So then this, according to recordation, that is who gets the profit and, well, because half of it will be in
Yeah.
Far West and half of it will be.
Right.
So if they had a building that intersected, it would get complicated, but the advantage that we have here, you can
Road.
kind of see it, the road will be what crosses that line. And so there's not gonna be a building in between the two cities.
And they have to follow our standards so that. it's-
Correct,
there's
and we're not
continuity.
looking and requesting or recommending any change from our standards, our zoning, that's part of why the zoning part was included. It's just kind of a distinction of the separation between the two, but they do want to create one cohesive development there and have some interconnectivity with what they're putting in, and as long as they meet our standards and our code, I don't foresee an issue.
And that's fine, I just don't wanna give permission for something that we don't want, I don't.
Oh, I agree.
I don't know what that is, have they given you any preliminary look at what that is going to look like?
So,
or any-
so ultimately, I mean, to your very point, they've got to meet whatever's allowed in the zone, and so we
And then
determined when meeting or when setting the zone there, what we want or what we allow in that area.
It's manufacturing.
It is,
and
yep,
people.
yep,
So it would have to.
it would have to meet the requirements of that, so I
Or
mean,
they'd have to ask for a rezone.
or they'd have to ask for a zone if they want something
I'm
else,
sure that's
correct?
coming next. All right.
All right,
Thanks,
we
that's
had a
all I
motion by Marriott and a second Barrington.
So Sarah,
Oh, motion by Erie, sorry, second by Arrington.
so could is the UP North? They can't really connect those. I guess they could buy the property from UP, right?
So
They
the
couldn't-
UP is a tiny strip that runs
We
along the
have to have
canal.
Ownership of it, but the UP can't really do anything.
Yeah, there's not much they can do with, the main reason why they're looking to, gain that is for the road connectivity, and it's,
Okay.
When
Absolutely
did that come up?
critical.
Because, I mean, I know we're a long way with the county on that road.
Mhm.
Was that ever part of it, that we knew that was there, or we just assumed that it was?
we didn't know it was there until we started digging into the plat maps for these, so I think it was while this, proposal came forward and we kind of dug in, and I think it was actually our city engineer that.
Cause we've done some, we've
this
done
is a
planning
flat
for the
map.
road, but it just, that seems
I
kind of
think
a,
it was not big. I don't know that they paid attention a lot to that area.
I just,
there. It
well,
didn't seem
but
like
the
that
road,
that
the
was-
road's planned and ready to go, and it's gonna go through.
Right.
So but we're missing a piece right in the middle.
But
Seems
part
kinda
of it
silly.
too with the road, I mean, it's kind of an incremental process because, I mean,
Alright.
you designate where the road's gonna go, but you don't really dig into the weeds of how do you acquire all the property needed, because we didn't own any of the property when we set where we wanted to put the road. It was more, you plan first and then figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, it's such an odd shape. I don't know what they'll do with it. Trying to make it
Just get
cohesive.
enough of it.
It's a big piece,
Because
though.
they have to-
It-
Yeah, it's
it-
25 acres or
Yeah.
whatever,
It's
so
like,
yeah, it's a big
It
piece.
is odd shaped, but,
Yeah.
you know, probably not a lot at the top, on top of the end, but. All right, call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Big
Motion
apartments
carries.
up there in the middle.
Thank you. Item 4, Deer Crest subdivision phase 5, final acceptance. Discussion and possible consideration for final acceptance of the improvements completed for Deer Crest subdivision phase 5. Amy, I guess.
It is me, I'm sorry.
It's been a while since we've had Deer Crest in our meeting.
So before you this evening is a recommendation from our engineering who's inspected the public improvements and presented to DRC with no reservations to look at final acceptance for Deer Crest subdivision phase 5. And so this would allow for the release of any remaining escrow funds at this time and kind of provides that provision. So this is very typical as we verify that standards are being met in accordance with our city code.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we release this, or we accept the final acceptance and release the escrow money as stated in item number 4.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Gibson, second by Yurki. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Is there a
opposed?
phase 6?
I know, that's the same thing.
Yes, there is.
Yep.
A and B.
6A and B.
Yep, 2 more.
Common.
Item 5 is an interlocal agreement with Far West City. Discussion and possible consideration to approve an interlocal agreement with Far West City to establish terms for the construction and use of shared grant funding for the new roadway project beginning at 2700 North and 1740 West and extending to approximately 2740 West. Amy?
Okay, thank you so much, Mayor. So this probably goes into more of the questions that were raised prior, but this is a proposal for an interlocal agreement with Far West and really helps to identify what our process is with regards of using the roadway funds. And so just a little bit of historic data on this. The development group that's working to develop this area was interested in entering a joint interlocal agreement with the development. Because the majority of the development is housed in Far West, there really was a little bit of discomfort in looking at that scenario. And so ultimately, the determination was to make a recommendation to just enter an interlocal agreement with Far West. And what the entails is that it kind of describes what the roadway project is, what the priority items are, and so what items should receive the initial funding first, but then also that there's mutual agreement upon expenditure of the funds. And so because this is a joint grant that we're both looking at and determining how those funds are utilized, I know it gets a little bit messy with developers involved because it is kind of this joint thing and there is some reimbursement ability similar to what we did with Rural and White to the development, but we figured it would be best to have that go through Far West and they could basically refund the developer in their community. If it's something related to the development in our community, then we could refund the development in that area of the road project. And so ultimately, it just creates, we are the head recipient of the WACOG grant funding and administering that, but it's better to have something in place and some criteria to dictate the use of that so that we don't just burn through the funding and we're making sure that we're meeting the WACOG standards. So if you look at the project scope, the project description, it talks about the involvement of property acquisition, design, construction, and dedication of the roadway in both cities and the need to include infrastructure. We have different standards than Far West, so we need to navigate that a little bit and look at how that affects each respective city. And then again, with the project management side of it, we will be overseeing, the disbursement of the WACOG grant funding, working closely with WACOG to ensure that we're following their rules and not expending funds outside of the limits of that. And, then assessing, each expended portion for each group ultimately. And then the elements in Pleasant View, we have the authority to manage and complete the elements in our jurisdiction. And the same thing with Far West, they manage the elements in their jurisdiction. But then, you know, we're focused on participating in ours, they're focused on participating in theirs if there's any necessary additional resources that fall into the project. And then with the reimbursement eligibility, again, we want to ensure that everything is reimbursable through WACOG. The process to submit invoices so that, because we are heading that up, Far West would need to submit any billing invoices to us for that reimbursement through WACOG. And then if they wish to enter a development agreement with any developers, then they are welcome to pass those along to their developers, but we're not directly connecting with their developers and passing funds that way. And so then again, on section 3, there's that prioritization. And so if you look at 3.4, it just states the cities agree that a disbursement of funds shall prioritize tasks and components of the project based on the sequence in which they must be completed. With recognition, funding anticipates and requires a match of development groups adjacent to the planned roadway. And so we can't just go in and not ask our developers to participate. The whole grant has that developer participation built in, and the developers need to do their part. And then funding will be generally allocated to the tasks that occur in the initial stage of the project, and lists out on that next page, preliminary planning, design, property acquisition, engineering work are included, then site preparation, then the initial construction activities. And then from there, kind of building into the intermediate construction activities, paving, installing curbs, sidewalks, drainage systems, and then finalization of the roadway project, including landscaping, signage, and other components. And so obviously, you know, it's an estimation of what the costs are, and I feel like it's a good estimation on where we were at. We've really done quite well with WACOG grants, but we also want to be extremely cautious that we can still complete the entirety of the project. So with that, that's ultimately what the agreement sets up. I don't know if there's any questions on,
Has legal looked at this?
Yes.
And how about Far West legal?
yes, Far West actually has already adopted this agreement.
If they have different standards, I'm just reading through the agreement in 1.3 and 1.4. Each municipality will have jurisdiction over
Their-
that section, but if we have different, have we agreed, like in the previous item, to a certain standard?
So we have not agreed to one single
So it's an
standard
agreement
except
to-
for,
Okay, so that's coming.
Yeah.
Because you can't have connectivity
Right.
if there's different standards.
right. And so that'll come forward as an approval as to what that is. But here's one thing that might be different. So we may have sidewalk extending alongside of one of ours, and there may be a cutoff point of that depending on what their standards are. I mean, just for example, but
Did
the
we
roadway width and the
specify
right of
anything?
way would be equalized.
Should we specify a particular standard in the grant, WACOG?
We did not, except for the right of way width.
So then
And-
we're not
and-
pulled into one city over the other.
No,
They
but
can.
there is a right of way width, and I think that
And
it
if they
would
have
serve us best
more,
to
if they
have,
say our standard says 12 inches of asphalt and our standard says 10, we only have to do 10.
no, we'll have a single standard on that, and that's been in the
So there
WACOG
will be
grant.
an agreement that, so there will be continuity and they're not, you know.
Well, I think WACOG will require that
Okay.
in order to expend the funds.
Well, and
What-
this is basically an interlocal agreement saying
we
that
agree
we're
to
gonna work
agree
with Far West to design this.
And
The
this is our
developer- go back.
process with the funding.
The developer wanted to enter into an agreement with us and an agreement with Far West, and we weren't comfortable with that. We went with our attorney, who said, no, he wasn't comfortable with that there. He suggested, I suggested, and he agreed that we should do an interlocal agreement directly with Far West and let the developer.
Then work it out, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
So-
think that's
so-
wise.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
And this really doesn't have anything to do with this motion, but is that project an all or nothing, or are we gonna do it start on Rulon White or Parkland or whatever, wherever it starts, Parkland, and go till we run out of money, or is the whole project gonna be planned through Pleasant View and?
That's what we're trying,
West,
we're working on right
This is
now.
for
Because-
the 5.4 million
Mhm.
or whatever.
But, you know, I mean, we talk about, you know, property acquisition and all those different things. All of a sudden that gets out of hand and we're 10 million or something.
Right, and so that's,
So are we gonna put a lot of money and cost into it before, are we gonna start it and till the money runs out? Or is the project gonna be finished? If we started at Pleasant View and it gets over to Far West, then
Do we have a projected cost already?
yes, and that's where the 5.4 million came into play. But I would say, and to your very point, I mean, property acquisition can get messy.
yeah.
And it may not be that they're willing to accept market value. And that's where we will be, and the agreement states this, working very closely with WACOG, so we're not spending funds that are gonna burn us down the road.
Well, hopefully these property will see the benefit of that road and not, you know, not fight us too much. I'm anticipating that, but.
Right,
I just see it, I mean, it's a long way around.
Well, in
That's where there's-
kind of another way, that we're participating with the developers. So if the developers walked away from this project right now, we probably would not build the road.
Because
Okay?
our,
Because
our
we're gonna
section,
add to it. We're
our
not gonna
section
fund the whole piece.
is not, is that gonna be all the Boyer stuff gonna be in that?
Well, it'll be north of that.
But is that gonna be
Yeah.
who we're working with? That's gonna be our developer, pretty much take the piece, right?
Yeah.
So we have one.
Is that the developer?
And
so
then-
there's two developers up here, and we have worked with the winery to kind of get the edge needed to move over here.
Cause they won't, you know, I can't see that the winery would have much.
But we also own the road right
They-
here next to the Jimmy John's coming into the development, and that's gonna require some effort as well. And so, I mean, there's
you mean
definitely
the
some
jack-
complexities.
Anyway, I just wanna make sure we don't, anyway.
Jimmy John's already there.
You said the Jimmy John's coming in. No, it's.
But ultimately, but ultimately, to your question, Councilmember Gibson, I think that there may be a scenario where, you know, part of the road comes in, and depending on when this other development comes in, it may take more time or vice versa. And so there's really not a surefire timeline. It is very much driven by development. But I think from the sentiments that I've received from the development community, there's a lot of interest to move on this
But-
project as quickly as possible.
But
we're
we have
contributing to the
but we have the money, and this is, in my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are getting the money up front to put this in with then hopefully help from the developers to put some money back into the pot.
I think that will be.
I mean, isn't that kind of where we're looking for? Because
Sort of. So the developers, Yeah.
5.4, I don't know what it's gonna cost. I haven't seen any of those things.
The
but
parts that the developer benefits from, I'm sure that you'll have to.
Well, but
you'll have to
yeah,
compensate.
I thought we were gonna put the road in just because that's what we planned on doing. That's what we got the WACOG funding for.
so
So we're not, and then they will participate
Yes.
and put some money back into it that would then go back to WACOG, I would assume.
it doesn't, the match for the WACOG grant is the developer's contribution. So it doesn't pencil without development going
So
in.
you think it could be 8 million or 10 million or
Oh,
something?
probably, yeah.
Okay.
The total cost. to
Yeah,
build it?
yeah. I mean,
We
it,
have
it,
five-
it's a lot of
We have
roadway.
5.4, and that's all we got.
So-
That's all we need.
So-
Well, that's all we need if the developers will play.
But it's a
if-
lot of money,
Well,
right?
no,
It's a lot of money, but.
So if they don't, that's my
Yes.
question, you know, we're gonna get into this and all of a sudden this developer says, well, we're 2 or 3 years away. Well.
Actually, and they're bonded, and so they're set.
Well,
but
we
they're
might
not-
have
they're
to
not
ask for
set.
an extension from WACOG. We're
Okay.
not
Will
gonna
they
start
be
building the
set to
road.
the agreement?
Will they
The
what?
developers? Yeah,
For what agreement?
if we start this, project, they'll be set.
No.
Well, they're not a signatory on this agreement. So ultimately, it is a little bit of a waiting game, but again, the sentiments of the developers are, they wish this road was in 5 years ago,
Well-
from what I've heard. I don't anticipate this not moving forward.
But by the same token, we didn't have any developers even interested until we got the grant.
Correct.
Now they're like, oh yeah, this is
Yeah,
great.
because they didn't want to pay for it.
Cause now they don't have to fund the whole road, just,
Yeah.
you know, they get help, so. which is exactly why we went after.
Sorry, we're a little bit off. the
No,
topic.
it's okay. I think it's great discussion. It really is, it's an important project and ultimately gives us frontage to begin movement northward. I mean, you know, we get this frontage here, but then it also interconnects back to our signalized intersections down here as well, which is a major safety benefit.
So how does the interlocal agreement work then? We determine we're going to work together as cities, but I guess staffs will be working together. Will there be additional approvals at some point, or, I mean, how?
Yeah, there will be additional approval. So it'll come as a plat map for the road. I mean,
Okay.
you're gonna approve the road.
So this, you guys enter negotiations of who's going to oversee what?
Well, we would be the oversight authority, but it would be a mutual agreement if we expend any funds
Of the road
with the
parcel.
blessing of ACOG.
So we're ministering the contract.
Yes.
With the, okay.
We led the grant application to receive the funds, and so we would be administering it.
So that's why they said, all of the invoices, everything is submitted to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're overseeing the funds.
And so really, it's just kind of a,
It's that top one.
instead of
It's usually
having,
right here.
instead of having a handshake agreement, this solidifies our arrangement with Far West and helps clarify what the expectations are. Yeah,
We can die.
right.
Have we had a motion already, Mayor?
No.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we, approve this interlocal agreement with Far West City for this new roadway project as stated in item number 5.
Second.
Go ahead, Phil.
It'll
Phil beat me.
Didn't help at all.
Hands in the spotlight.
Over here. Should have showered.
Yeah, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Phil.
Phil seconded.
Oh, Phil second, okay. Motion,
Gibson.
Gibson, motion by Gibson, second by Nelson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Okay, the next, oh, sorry, Mayor,
Public-
you introduced
Item
it.
6, public hearing,
He's got it.
compensation. Discussion possible consideration to approve amended compensation increases for executive municipal officers in coordination with approved inflationary adjustments like ordinance 2024-19.
Mayor, can I make a motion to go into public hearing?
Sure.
Second.
Okay, motion to go into public hearing, Gibson, second by Arrington, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in a public hearing.
Okay.
Amy,
The-
Laurie, we want to hear from you.
I know, Laurie chimed in on this as well, but I know that this is the third or fourth time we brought this to you, but after the inflationary adjustments, we're like, oh yeah, there was that change in state code that we have to bring that forward each time there's any type of adjustment to a range or a pay.
can you help me
Um,
understand, that's all housekeeping. Help us understand that last column.
The last column,
Effective final compensation percent of range.
and Laurie may be able to speak to that better than I can.
Perspective?
The last one you got, I didn't include the 5% ranges, because I thought it was just a 5% the people, but I guess the ranges went up 5%. So I just took this, the one you saw last time, I just raised it 5%.
Okay.
So people may not get the maximum here, but
This is up to, is that why it's
up to.
perspective final?
Up to with the 5%. I don't understand that's what I'm not understanding, that last.
The last column is where this individual would fall into their range, what percentage
the
of
percent
pay they'd
in
be.
the range.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the top.
No, it's not the amount of increase.
So
it's where-
50% would be in the mid-range, right?
Yes,
Would be mid.
Where they're located in the range.
correct.
Okay. That's,
That's max.
Gotcha.
yeah, all right.
And that's completely max.
So the
That's
low
not
and the high.
guaranteed.
And this just
Because you could look at that and go, what? Who's getting 100% raise? Who's getting,
So the low is the bottom, the high, in the range, and then this is the percentage of that range.
Correct.
so the current is where you're at. I don't see how that's it.
Where does it say current?
Current
Oh,
compensation
right here.
percent of range. So let's just pick on Amy.
Go for it.
Well, right now she says she's below the range,
And that's with the 5% bump.
right? So how could you prospectively jump to the middle of the range? What could happen that would make you go?
You know,
to the-
we're still just following our policy on merits and performances. instead of me going through all these workshops and doing the same thing, I just took last time's chart, I upped it 5%.
Okay.
Just to make it simple. It may be off here and there, but you'll
Is-
still have
so
to
is
go
this,
through.
is this a column that's required? Because it's confusing column.
It is confusing, but it is required. Because what the state has asked, and this is where it gets really tricky, is they want to know what is current range, what is the new range, where is the person currently, and where is the person prospectively at their highest. And that's, I mean, it's messy, and I think, I mean, it is confusing, but Laurie's point is, with the way our system has been, and we do need to fix it
Yeah,
and
we're gonna
revisit
fix
it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I don't
I'm just
foresee
trying to make sense of that column and I still
many, if
don't- I
any,
still
yeah,
don't, so.
getting there.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Sue. Yeah.
And I don't understand it either. But if the police sergeant, for example, right in the current compensation percentage of range, he's right in the middle of his range, 48%, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And at what point is the prospective final compensation to be 87%? I mean, does that mean if we're gonna give him a raise or?
This is current at June 30th. So
Uh,
you guys have already gave them 5%.
and
They
so-
go through the performance.
So
If they
they,
do wonderful, they could get way up high.
so
So I
they,
did
they
the math.
could be in our range, 87% of their range, which is a huge increase, I think.
It is huge.
So,
That's
so
what's
what's the standard by which this prospective final compensation
yeah,
comes? How do we get to that? That's the thing that I don't
how do we
understand.
determine where they should be in the range?
5%, that's fine,
Based on
But-
our review.
but that's,
Or-
48 to 87 is more than 5%. It's, that's a huge jump.
Correct. And
Yeah.
there's two different increases, and I don't know, Laurie, and maybe you could speak to this, and I think she tried to just simplify the math a little bit,
So,
but it really depends on where somebody's at in their range, and that's part of what's broken with our
so the
compensation.
police sergeant right now, if I'm reading it right, is about $42 an hour. I mean, they're 50% of the range, 35 to 49.
Yeah,
They should be 42 or maybe 41
that,
something.
one of them is, there's
Okay,
two
so the
there.
second police sergeant.
The second sergeant.
But with our high range of that 87.9%, they could go from 87 to 102,000. I mean,
Well, 87% of 102.
or 87% of 102, whatever that is.
Well, it's.
Yeah, to 87%
Of
within the
102,
range.
Right?
No, well,
No,
that's.
Yeah, 0 would be 73,000, 100% would be 102,000.
Well, I mean, these are just the hourly
Yeah,
going
yeah.
here, so he's making $42 an hour or thereabouts.
So you would take
Right.
their current
So you go
salary,
87.
which you can look up on
It would
transparent.gov and times that by 5%.
Say that again.
So does this,
You would take her current
is this
salary.
is this
um,
range, that's the new range, right?
Find out that's her current salary and then times that by 5%.
The percentage of the range,
But that's
so
not-
this would be the current compensation. So if the range went up, like, we'll use my position as an example again. If my range went up 5%, then I below what the new range would be.
Okay.
Where I'm at now. But then if I maxed out on my performance based on the way our pay for performance system is, and again, I don't agree with how the system is, and nor do I think that this should go there. But that's the maximum that the position could go based on the way our calculations work with that. And so it is not a good system with the way that final is, but it is the system with which we have. There's the two separate increases, but it's hard to compare the two because you've got the 5% increase in the range. So a lot of these ranges, people have dropped 5% in where they were at in the range.
This side part is stupid,
Yeah.
and then this. one
Yeah.
Well,
over
but
here is
it represents a real possibility, which that's.
It
what-
does represent a
that-
real
So that's what I'm
possibility.
kind of, I'm questioning. I mean, for you, I'm not, that's why I tried to go somewhere else, but
You can
right,
go with
right now
mine.
you are, whatever. And so you'll be 44%, which will be, could be 141,000.
Right.
Could be your range,
And
which from hundred and fifteen, I guess, I mean, that's,
Where does that perspective range come from? I don't understand.
that's if,
That's
if
what we're on.
in our word, if in our policies, you get a good merit, you get
Yeah,
all
no
these
way
different
you
things,
get a
you could
44%
be
merit
No,
increase. Well,
But it's not a 44% increase.
It's not a 40% increase, but it's 40% of
It's
the range.
moving- Yeah, it's moving up the range 44%.
So you could be from a low, I don't know exactly, hundred and fifteen to
135.
about 140. Say whatever.
Contract amounts 115, but.
So 115, you could be 141, which is a 36%, $36,000 raise.
Right, and I'm saying I don't agree with it.
So how do we
but-
fix that before we approve this range, is what I want to know. That's my question.
So part of the challenge that we're experiencing, and we've already had,
If we,
the mayor and I have identified this, our compensation system with the pay for performance is broken. And so I think if we want to suspend that, we've already had 2 or 3 people come through their performance since the budget process started. And so since July 1, we've already gone through 3 peoples, and so it's kind of an awkward moment. But I think we could suspend it and hold off. I would be absolutely supportive of that because this is something that the mayor and I identified as broken. And part of what's really broken with it is if somebody's been here a really long time, so if somebody's not been here very long, they can get a really high increase just based on the way the calculations are.
Yeah.
So for instance, if somebody had been here and let's say they're at the bottom of their range, and
I know it.
I know, we went through it, so if it, let's say they had a 75% performance, they could probably get an 88%, like performance bump type of thing versus somebody who's been here a really long time.
85%?
Cool.
To the 85 percentile position.
Yeah.
So
Give
they,
me a percentage of increase in wages. What-
no,
so I'm trying to
That's
think of
what I
how
want. I
the
want to know how.
little sheets are. So I think, let's say 20%. So somebody that's
Get a
performing at a
20%
75%,
increase?
yes, somebody could get, it is broken.
it's like Amy, if she maxed out on everything, she would be $140,000. That's what, in our processes right
It's broken a
now,
lot worse than I thought it was.
which is
really bad.
$35,000 about.
Right.
And so I don't want to do this, because if we give permission, all of a sudden this is where it's gonna go, and it's gonna be out of control. So I don't know what the state law is or whatever we have to do to approve this, but I think, Mayor, we need to fix that before we approve this.
I agree.
Because, I mean, I want everybody, and I know this is the max, and it probably won't happen. I could.
Right.
It's, yeah.
Well, and really, I mean, the only one that the council,
Well, the council does.
so it's,
No.
no, the
No.
council
Don't-
controls mine, but for otherwise it's the supervisor.
It's a system that's been in place since Clifford, I believe.
I mean, yeah, long before I was
So
here.
basically, you got these ranges, and the purpose of it is they wanted everybody in mid-range. That's their goal. So if you're way down here, they move you faster to get you to the mid-range. If you're up at the top.
But there was a
they
5%
move
cap.
really slow because they want you closer.
I thought there was a 5% cap.
So,
And
then
there,
there's a cap.
But this does not represent a 5% cap. What we would approve now, that does not
You guys
exist.
changed the ranges just last time or 2 times ago where you gave everybody a 5%
Right.
increase, but the ranges apparently went up to 5%. So I just took your.
But we
the prior
froze,
one And
yeah.
raised up 5%, the numbers, to make it simple.
but we need to take that other component out because, yeah,
Make it
it's
simple.
no longer germane. That's the thing we were.
well, and that's where I guess we're at, what my recommendation would be, and I don't know how we deal with, I think we've had 3, maybe 4 that we've already had go through performance evaluations. And so I don't really know how we address that, and maybe it's a conversation with the supervisors, but I mean, we did do the 5% increase, we did do the 5% range increase. My proposal would be put a pause on any performance until we have a system in place that we feel comfortable with. I mean, it's not that we haven't, worked to address the inflationary issues, but there is a big issue here. And I didn't really finish before, but I mean, you have an employee that's performing poorly, but they're earlier on in their range, they're gonna get a giant bump up to try to hit a mid-range. But then you have an employee that may be here a really long time and they're gonna get a tiny increase because of where they're at in the range, even if they've been here for 30 years. It's not functional.
You know, and I think
Yeah.
everybody agreed the 5% for inflation, kind of that, we want to take care of the employees. And I don't want to get, at least for me, I'm one of five, but I don't want to get to say that we don't appreciate the employees, that it's not.
Oh,
what
I
I'm
never,
saying.
ever want to say that.
Because we appreciate it, and we want to pay as much as we can, but I just think if we approve this, that level will, I just think it's gonna get out of hand. I'm not saying that it will, and, you know, that is up to the,
Has
up
the
to, up-
potential.
up to the staff and, you know, the superintendents or whoever it is to give those performance things, but this, I don't like that possibility of a big jump. I think we're getting in trouble with that. I don't
Can we
know.
put this off to the next meeting?
Can you fix it, Mayor, before?
Well, I'm hoping
Do
to.
we need to go back and change what was implemented with Mayor Clifford? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah.
Or we gotta go back and change that process? Cause
Because
I don't know what that is.
I thought we were doing, so I didn't know, sorry, I didn't know we were doing these merit increases with a, basically putting back into the spreadsheet that was created, the 5%, which was not the purpose of the 5%. The purpose of the 5% was to say, we're not gonna do that anymore.
We're just gonna give you 5%.
We're gonna give you 5% and we're gonna figure out a whole new thing, but that's not what's happened.
Yeah,
So,
so
Was this required to do
yes, this
Well,
thing's required.
range thing?
I don't know, and that's, I have questions on those things too, but this is not the area for that, but I think, you know, merit and those types of things need to be, if someone does a good job, we wanna
And
keep them.
And what I'd like to see is a cap on the merit, and so maybe it's a 3% cost of living and a 3% merit potential, or, you know, I mean, just some type of
Yeah.
hybrid, and Mayor and I have talked quite at length, and I'm sorry, Mayor, I
But-
hope I'm not blindsiding you with this either,
I-
it's just really messy.
The merit should have absolutely nothing to do
With cost of living.
with cost of living or where you're at in the
Yeah,
range.
exactly.
You either merit an increase or you don't merit an increase. It doesn't matter where you.
And when you
Well, that-
start, and when you're
versus
hired,
whack.
you're hired
There's a.
with the compensation.
You should
And I,
find a spreadsheet.
I know that you want to get them up to something good, because we don't want to pay right up front, but that's, anyway, Mayor, I would like, I would like to table this, item and come back.
Look at others, you do an average of what people
But
have.
that
Yeah,
doesn't
Larry does
No, I'm
give me a
just saying
benchmark.
I'm just saying so that we're competitive. in
Yeah,
wages,
that's what the
yes.
range.
Well, but if
that's
we're
what
not
the range.
competitive, we're not going to hire anyone.
Well, yes, I'm just saying.
We do that.
For my understanding, that's what you do initially to see what the value of that position is.
Correct, we
Okay.
do that. No,
So-
the main thing, and there's an equation utilized with the merit, and it is really challenging. And it's something that's been in place, it's been adopted long time before I was here, before the mayor was in this.
Cost of
position.
living, I mean, those
But-
those
so-
come,
Here's what I
and
did.
merit is on
Based on
top.
Something
up to a
was
certain
lost in the
percentage.
communication because my, basically it was, okay, we're gonna give 5% to everybody and we're gonna figure out this spreadsheet.
Perfect.
We're gonna redo all that.
Max
But
total.
that's not what happened.
Yeah.
We get 5%, we adjusted all the ranges, which is fine. You need that for hiring and stuff. You know, that's what we've done is we adjusted for cost of living, all the ranges. That's what it says in our policy. That's what we did. And so,
Yeah.
but then we put it back into the formula, which is, wait, that's where we shouldn't have done
Yeah.
it. Because that's what the 5% was, is not to put it back in the formula.
Yeah.
Because it was so skewed. Some people were getting 0.1 and other people were getting 12, you know, it's like, no, that's not right. So,
And
so
Mayor, I think part of why that happened, and you all probably recall, the 5% adjustment happened after July 1st, well after, and so there were some performance evaluations in between that time.
well, we'll have to address all that.
So you're just basically saying we have 5% across everybody's salary.
Mhm.
Yeah, 5% bump. That's what this range did, right? We moved it up 5%. They have a potential for across the range to get up to 5%. Some could
No, they
some.
got,
could
no,
s-
they
could
got
some get-
5% period.
what's that?
Everybody got the 5%.
I don't
And
know,
then
that,
Mayor, on top of that,
So that
Yeah.
5% was, and then there is also going to be down the road, another cost of living increase and a performance increase.
But no cost of living this year.
Well, not this year, but
But
next
somewhere,
year,
yeah.
every
Yeah,
every
whatever
year
we
get
figure
cost
out
of
in the
living.
new formula.
And so that just multiplies on top of each other, which creates the problem we've got, I think.
I think
well,
so
if
too.
that's
So I-
the way it was at, it wasn't a cost of living, it was a market adjustment.
Okay,
We do the market adjustment.
Which in
And
a
then
sense.
they-
It's a cost of living, it's an
But
inflationary
this year you did the
tool.
market adjustment, and then you inflated at 5%.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway,
so
I
then we
think,
did the
Mayor,
performance
I'd make a
and
motion that
the
you
cost.
take this back and look at it a little bit more, bring something else back before we approve.
So you table it?
I'm in favor.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion for Gibson, second.
Out of the public hearing.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Wait.
Mayor, I'll make a
Any
motion.
members of the
oh,
public wish to address it? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public
Mayor, I'll
hearing.
make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, if this is, yeah, I'm just clarifying. So if we bring this back off the table, had the public hearing, the decision can be made, done in a public hearing. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now,
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we table item number 6, compensation, and have you and Amy re-evaluate the compensation of
Okay.
the compensation schedule, or what is it? What is the compensation
Yeah.
matrix, whatever it is,
I'll second the motion.
policy for the city and bring it back.
motion by Gibson to table, second by Marriott. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Guess we got some homework. All right. 7, consolidated fee schedule. Discussion and possible action to amend the consolidated fee schedule by adding additional land use types to the transportation impact fees. Resolution 2024-V. Jane?
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor. For you this evening is a consideration to look at expanding the table that's included with our fee schedule for the transportation impact fees. So when initially adopted, we had had a recommended list from Zions Bank that comprised of less items, and in application of these, there were some similar uses, but that didn't fit into the category. And then based on what was included in our appendix in the fee schedule, it didn't address it, and so we weren't able to apply the impact fees. And so we felt it appropriate to add a more comprehensive list to ensure that those impacting businesses and uses would be outlined so that the fee is applicable to those.
Can you give us an example of which ones it increased?
Yes.
Or which ones
Which ones were added? Yes.
Is the appendix. What we're gonna adopt is the whole manual from the what is it? ITE manual 11th edition. We're trying to get a hold of it right now. You have to be a member of this group to get this manual. So we called Zions and the other fellow to see if we could get the whole complete list of it. We had somebody come in doing business and it's not on our list. So we can't
It was
charge them.
very similar, but I'm trying to remember what it was, but it's,
So appendix A is what we had, and you're saying you're gonna find another list?
The whole list, we have a portion.
What's the abbreviation, IP or IT?
Is ITE the 11th edition.
Oh, okay.
because we did look specifically at the language and we hadn't referenced the entire manual prior, so what we were able to apply was the appendix A.
So Steve brought up a good point. These are numbered up to 949. We probably only have, what, 60 of them or something, maybe?
I think somebody.
Is there that many of them? Is that what we think?
The
or
the
we don't
whole
know?
thing is, and looking at it, it seems pretty straightforward. Oh, there's a hotel, there's a movie theater, there's this, but depending on the use and what they're doing, and I think, the example that Laurie had provided was, a fitness facility, and so it really doesn't address it explicitly, but, there were some things that were similar to it. But it's just without the clear language, it's hard to justify, and then we're not really utilizing our impact fee to what it was intended to do. And then it gets tricky because you're applying it for some of these that, are simply clearly,
But we've already
applicable.
adopted Appendix A. This
Right.
resolution is to adopt.
To expand it to the
expand
entire
the
list.
entire list
Yes,
That
correct,
are not found in this appendix.
correct, correct.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we, approve the entire list, the book, wherever it is, once we find it.
IT manual, 11th
IT
edition.
manual, what is it?
11th edition?
11th, IT manual, 11th edition, under resolution 2024-B as in Victor.
A second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Roll call vote.
So just a clarification, is this a Utah manual or is this a
No.
national manual?
National,
Okay.
I,
But
I,
It's standardized, every state.
I do have a
follows it.
comment,
So-
Mayor,
Yeah.
before we do this. You know, that, to me, this means nothing to us. We're, you know, I don't know, $10,000 a year, I mean, something like that.
Pretty low.
Really nothing. Could we adjust the impact money-wise? I mean, or do we
not
have
without a
to,
study.
or do we have
Not
to?
without
oh, forget it,
$50,000
never mind.
Like when businesses and
Oh,
people
no,
make-
of course it is, but you get,
No, this is based on a prior, on the study.
a daycare center, $954, that's the maximum, you know, $952. I mean, that.
You're right.
But that's just what the city assesses, then there's other fees on top
Yeah,
of it that other entities.
but for our
assess.
roads, it's,
Yeah.
it's nothing, really. I
No,
mean,
it's not, but it,
It's a
Better than nothing.
It's a
It's
fee we're
better
not-
than
it's a
nothing
fee they're
though.
not getting, I
It's
get
been
it.
nothing historically, at least this is.
but we could do study and charge more.
Please,
Or less.
forget
We
it.
just completed
We
a
don't wanna
study.
do
I was just gonna ask, didn't we just barely do that?
This is why we did
Yeah.
our transportation
Why
master
we approved
plan.
this a few
Okay.
months ago, it's, yeah.
Forget it. I don't want to study.
And
already
we
done.
will be
My
doing it
motion
again in
stands.
5,
Second
6, 7
stands.
years. Okay. Roll call vote. Arrington.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yeah.
Marriott.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
And Yuri.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, all voting aye. Thank you. Item 8 is appointments. Item 8A is a discussion of possible action to appoint Tammy Evison
Evison, yeah.
as the records officer for planning and zoning. Do we do both of them? And item B, discussion of possible action to appoint Alicia Cruz as the records office for the police department. Records officer for the police department. Any questions?
Is she the new Marcy? Okay.
Is it clear what they have to do, that their roles, responsibilities are?
We do check it.
Do you have-
It tells you, basically, it's the good training, especially for the police.
It's good.
This
Is
gonna
it
say, this
listed
is what you
though,
can
like
give
what
out,
that
this is what you have to,
Mhm.
Is
you
this
know,
in our
track, and all kinds of stuff, so.
Yeah,
it's
we're required.
law and
Yeah.
Already hired.
State law.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, that we make the appointments in 8A and B.
I'll second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. Further discussion?
Who was doing the records for planning and zoning? Was that, Brandon
Yeah.
was before?
Brandon was appointed prior.
Okay,
It's typically our planner.
all right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, other business. Anybody, let's start, well, let's don't, well, you've sat through these before. Anything?
Yeah, I got a couple things with the police department. First thing is, you guys approved the animal control CRO position, what was that, last year, so it's kind of 6 months ago. I just was today looking through that, that's going really well. So far, what I can see is he's had about 45 or 50 cases. Code enforcement, just code enforcement, animal control is kind of.
Is this per year?
Dispatch.
For the
No,
year?
this is, since he
Since
started. With 37 of 45 of them have been closed with the disposition, meaning he got them to get in compliance, which is a really good result. The others are still open, so it means he's still working on them. Also, we've seen an influx of school zone tickets the last few weeks, few months. Hopefully by writing those tickets, it will get people to slow down in the school zones. But we have seen a lot of tickets
Mhm.
coming from the school zone.
Really?
Is that doubled or what? in
Oh,
school
heck,
zone?
hang out in front of Lomond in the morning.
I'm glad,
Go get 'em.
yeah. Ride them.
Yeah, we,
That's one area that really should be heavily enforced.
Yeah.
They fly down there.
officer discretion is something that I'll never go away from, so I always leave them with discretion, but, I strongly encourage them to have zero tolerance in the school zone. Especially if they blow stop sign while the lady's out there. Hold
Oh,
on.
definitely, yeah.
And as far as I'm aware, I think there's pretty well zero tolerance in the school zone with our
Good.
officers. The other thing we're seeing a lot of is these kids riding around on motorized bikes and scooters. We had our sergeant meeting on Monday, and I tasked both of our sergeants with just getting better educated on the laws and ordinances regarding those, so that we can put together some training for our officers, so that we can help mostly to protect the citizens and keep everybody safe.
I have some pictures that one of the parks people sent me about what they've been doing to the grass and destroying the
Yeah.
parks. So
And so,
Can we, do we have an ordinance that says they can't
Yeah.
ride their bikes in that on the
Yeah.
park?
we do.
Can we get signs posted
yeah,
and
that
start
was
enforcing?
something.
Maybe that's a
remember who we were-
Tyson
So,
question.
I actually have on my list, to set up a meeting with you and Tyson to kind of go through that with the
We asked
signage.
for signs too, and he said that Bob was working on it, but
Mhm.
we would like.
Yeah, I'll set up a meeting.
That's gonna be the first step, is to get those signs up. We do have an
Yeah.
ordinance in the parks, just a preliminary, investigation or educating on. I just kind of task the sergeants with, hey, become experts on these laws regarding these
Yeah,
motorized.
because it's my
vehicles.
understanding on some of those like e-bikes and stuff like
Yeah.
that, they almost have to be like licensed to be able to
Yeah,
go that
yeah.
fast and on the road and stuff like that.
But we are gonna, we have a
It does say
meeting
electric,
scheduled with our,
furnace, all of that, skateboards,
Yeah.
they can't be on the concrete, they can't be on the grass, they can't be on the curb.
Problem is they can ride it down the road.
it's a statewide problem and that's one of the issues we're going to bring up with our,
Finding 7, 8, 9-year-old
legislators.
kids riding them down the road at
Meeting.
25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so,
That's
a lot of that boils down to a city ordinance, and so there might be something coming forward in the future where we present some sort of an ordinance.
that's gonna be good. Steve?
I hope we make a distinction between a bicycle and a motorized
Yeah,
bicycle.
yeah.
Because a bicycle and a park,
Well, it even says you can't do it, like,
I don't care. I mean, I think.
You can't damage it like
Or
you can
whatever,
an
bike,
electric one.
but you take
Yeah.
a motorized scooter that has some power to it, bigger tires. I hope, I would like to see the distinction between. I don't want to
Steve
outlaw
was one of
bicycles.
those kids turning up the parks and.
you should see what they do, even regular bikes, it's bad, okay?
Do you have a comment?
I was just saying, how do we educate the public? Because we're all confused on it. The officers are confused on it. There's state law, but
That's
We
why,
have to
that's
in the
why we're
parks.
digging into it,
if
yeah.
we can, I think
My goal is.
we
to
ought to
be able
publicize
with,
it.
Yeah, and again, like I said, it's a statewide problem. We're going to bring it up with our legislators to see if there's, if there's anything that comes, if they want to sponsor it, great, but the whole state, everybody's struggling with this and we need clarification.
I was surprised the other day.
Or we need to pass our own stuff.
There was,
Yeah, I agree.
used to see kids pedaling their bikes or doing a push scooter.
Yeah,
There was a whole group of people, they were just.
The whole wave of them, yeah.
They were just
Yeah.
going down with, and I
Yeah.
told my wife, and no one has a bike in.
And
They'll have
they're
motorized.
taking up the whole lane.
Yeah.
They're 5 across and they're taking up the whole lane.
Go
on
to
the-
Straw Market on a Wednesday, seriously, in the afternoon, and you should, it's,
Terrible.
it's
terrible.
huge, all the junior high kids and everybody drop off there, and they've got, I mean, that poor lady, she's been begging, please, please teach your kids, and it's been bad.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that, is I've tasked both Sergeant Doan and Smith to really dive into that, get educated on it, so we can forward that on to the officers and come up with some sort of a plan, whether we may have to present some sort of an ordinance to be adopted in Pleasant View. But, the
Do a
biggest
study
thing to
on it
me is
first.
that we got young kids
Not
out
pay
on the
for it.
roadway.
We do have.
What
an
was
ordinance
the
that
term I
does
gave you for
address
my
a lot of
conference?
it.
Yeah,
We do, but,
I can't
but it
remember.
probably needs to be fixed.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
so, other than that, we've lost 6 employees since June with the police department. We've replaced 3. Hopefully, we can, continue to
You're right.
recruit officers.
You're right.
and,
Oh. I did, right.
It's tough.
I didn't even wait for it to be here.
Yeah.
I know, I know.
There's, 2 of them retired, 4 of them went to the vacancies.
Oh, cool. So, no, that's good to know.
The guy that came from North Park and come here, wasn't,
Yeah, well,
No?
who's the other one?
Okay. Amy?
Okay, well, I have scheduled a meeting about the bike issue, so very quick on the draw with meetings. You all
Yeah, you
should know
are.
this by now. Sorry, not sorry. Well, sorry for the mayor for sure. He might throw something over at me. Just a couple of things, really exciting. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we have our pre-con scheduled for the pickleball courts, parking lot project. So excited to see forward progression on that, and we do have an agreement that, I spoke with, Brett this morning that's in progress to get the court portion done as well.
So did he agree to the agreement that you sent?
It sounded like he didn't have any issues with it.
Okay, that's,
Sounds like there's agreement to the agreement,
he agreed to the agreement that we all agreed.
but it's not agreed to until it's inked, no.
Well, good, I was gonna ask when that pre-con meeting was.
Yes, so just a couple of quick things with, and I'm always trying to think ahead, and I cannot believe it's already October. And so with regards to holiday parties, just a couple of items there. So I wanted to check, council members' availability, well, the mayor and myself wanted to check on December the 19th for a council holiday party. And I don't know if we'd be looking at doing that at your home again, Mayor, if that's something you're
Sure.
comfortable with, not to volunteer you to host. We could do it at mine, but there may be
What day
like
are
a
you
term.
saying?
It's
It's
Thursday the
December the
19th.
19th.
Don't think that's gonna work for me, but.
The closer you get to Christmas, the harder it is.
Okay, are there better dates that may,
I need to go back and look at it. I need to consult with my consultant.
do you, would you
Good
like,
call.
the mayor and I
Catholics
can
planner.
send out a couple of date options tomorrow. That's good to know that that one
About
is not-
Tuesday the 17th.
Tuesday.
Okay, I'm not gonna be difficult. I was gonna say Tuesdays are hard.
That's probably not gonna work for me either, so.
That's
That
fine.
whole, that whole week is, out. I think.
What
But
about
Thursdays are normally good, yeah.
The week
That's
before
Tabernacle
doesn't
Choir,
work for me. We
Christmas
got city
concert.
council on the 10th,
Thursdays
have a
are
ward
not
Christmas party on the
Thursdays are
11th,
not
The
good.
a
12th,
cemetery Christmas dinner on the 12th.
oh,
What's on the 11th?
we could do a
My ward
Friday
Christmas-
night, it's the 13th, Friday the 13th.
Friday the
That
13th.
sounds.
Ooh.
Hang on.
I know what my wife is doing.
Friday the
Some of
13th,
it-
is your wife available? You don't know yet.
I think she probably is.
No, that'll be
That's
Friday the
preliminary.
13th.
Why?
Well, not that it matters, but I won't be there.
Oh, well, that does
What
matter.
What about a Monday?
That's what we're
There was
asking.
a Ballroom dance competition in Las Vegas.
Okay,
Oh,
we could do a Monday, we could do a Saturday,
Sunday night.
Friday the 6th, no? Is
Friday the 6th?
that too early?
I'll
I
go
don't
back,
think so.
why don't we go back and look at dates that are available. I know the mayor's got, that's. it's gotta be work for him for sure.
Okay, we can distribute a couple of dates tomorrow and try to get something that works for everybody.
Yeah, it just gets tough because.
Let's still.
I know.
5th is 7th.
Monday the 2nd, Friday the 6th.
Monday the 2nd, Friday the 6th
The Santa Claus thing.
is on.
It's on the Cindy and I, isn't it the 14th? It's either the 7th or the 14th.
How about Monday the 2nd?
The 2nd,
Yes.
That's way honk. Tuesday the 3rd?
John can't come, but I can come alone.
Oh, wait, Tuesdays don't work for you.
Okay.
Wednesday or Wednesday.
Wednesday the 4th.
I'll bet that's good for me,
Wednesday the 4th?
Wednesday the 4th.
unless there's some school function, but.
Let's plan
What?
Wednesday.
What time we
Yeah,
talking?
What's that?
What time?
What?
Was there a particular time that works better?
No, I think I teach at the college Wednesday nights, but I'm back by 6:30. I can actually, doesn't matter. I can make it anytime. I think that might be finals week, so I might not even teach that week, so.
6:30?
So should we say 6:30?
Okay.
Wednesday the 4th, 6:30?
Okay,
Okay.
You're gonna send out an invitation?
yes, I will.
Okay.
You
All
know
right,
how
next.
fast I am.
I-
So the,
I'm
oh,
not guaranteeing that, but I'll check.
so.
Okay, well, and if it doesn't, we can look at adjusting.
Figure out like one other one too besides that.
No, this is cool.
Let's try it.
Let's just go
I
with
did
one.
check with Tucker,
Gotta
but
get
yeah.
too many.
So the other thing that, I did, get scheduled, coming up is the planning commission dinner, and I think there were some council members that had interest in participating in that, so I didn't know what the thoughts were on that, but that's on the 21st of November,
Planning commission what?
dinner, their holiday dinner.
Holiday dinner.
Don't we
Isn't it-
just
isn't
usually,
it
the
just-
planning commission does theirs and we do ours, the city council?
I just know last year or the year before, one of the planning commissioners was like, why don't, I feel like we're so
it's the combination.
separated, like, I feel like,
No, no, the planning commission, they actually would like us to come. They really would.
but whatever you guys think. I mean, that's just the feedback I got, was it?
It's here.
It's
at
here
the-
in the
it's
basement
just-
or,
it's
yeah.
just a
In the evening,
Casual
Mhm.
little holiday dinner.
their spouses and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Our
That's the
spouses
week
do.
before Thanksgiving.
It is.
Mhm.
What kind of food are you gonna have?
And, but.
If it's Beto's, I can't come.
Undefined.
Potatoes.
I'm busy.
All of them would really like the council members here. They really would. They've expressed that.
They're
to me,
good.
so.
All right, so the 21st, and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then also, oh, I'm so sorry.
What time
I
is that at?
need to make a little noise in the microphone.
6:30.
The mayor may, address this, or you can address this further, Mayor, but we are working toward, the police chief and the process. So what I'd like to do is schedule meetings with each of you to talk through that process. We want every council member engaged in some way, shape, or form, and we have kind of a proposal, a plan. Just wanted to meet with you individually to kind of go through that. So I'll set up those meetings. We're looking at, and here's more calendaring stuff. I know you guys love the calendaring
No,
stuff.
first, yeah, so you realize, so we are going to move our 29th, 22nd to the 29th, right? No,
Oh,
Steve can't be here,
Of
but
October.
Oh, yes, yes, if it works. And I know, Steve's actually gonna try to call in and Phil can't be here.
on
So,
15th.
and I'm sorry to do that, but the mayor and I are out on the
You're gonna be here
22nd.
the 29th. Oh, that's right, you're gonna be.
Just
in
put
that
all the
battle.
things that you don't want me to vote no on, put them on that, and I won't call any. of you.
Wait,
Saturday.
Steve won't be here.
Oh.
Studies that we need to talk about?
You know what, Steve? I want you to participate. I hope you know. Yes, I do.
Okay, all right, so
29th,
it'll be,
And-
it'll
and I need to
probably
send
be that
meeting
week
invite.
before we get to you. Only because we're both going out of town. She's going on a cruise and I'm going, where am I going?
Where are you going on your cruise trip?
Next to kids.
somewhere fun.
There, honey.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
You're going.
And we may need,
Are you going then too?
Yeah.
Alright.
Ponsagon. And some of you.
Cool. Are you?
Go to Castle Canyon.
Down in Ponsagon. I don't know, my grandson, at one point, he put in for the Ponsagon, which is, for those that don't hunt,
This
a very coveted, okay, and he actually drew a permit with 1 point. And, so,
Really?
I'm not hunting, but I'm going down there to see
You have a
him have
50
fun.
inch machine, 50 inch.
What?
A 50-inch machine.
Yeah,
Is this harder?
Casco
Is that-
Canyon.
Casco.
Casco, C-A-S-C-O, Casco Canyon.
They've already been down there 3 times. It's pretty sparse out, so I'm.
It is beautiful.
It's pretty. Is
There you go. But,
that where you guys go hunting? Out the Casco? Or no?
Okay, anyway,
It's great.
but I'll be gone there, she'll be gone, so that week after, the 28th week, we'll set up some meetings.
yep,
Right.
okay.
Gonna hijack the hunting story, sorry.
I tuned out, sorry.
Fireworks.
Okay,
Priorities.
and then, yeah, so I'll set up those meetings that week sometime, and I think that covers all my items. I'm so sorry I had so many tonight, but the mayor and I will be, tag teaming and working through those compensation issues, so.
Okay, Laurie? And?
Cool. You stole my pickleball thunder, which I'm so glad you did. Totally good.
Sorry.
No, it's good. I've been talking to Brent, and so we're getting ready to roll on that. And CERT, Amy and Cindy's been meeting with the CERT at the local area. And we've got like a section coordinators meeting on the books, not till November, but just want to let you know that behind the scenes, we're working on that stuff. So got some new maps. Cindy's doing an awesome job on it, so,
It's great.
yeah. So that's all I've got.
Sarah,
Um,
when's Pumpkin Blues?
it is October 26th, and we have the amazing Kennedy Lynn here. And it's from, the U City Council is gonna show up at 11, but it's from 12 to 2:30.
I'll send a calendar
And we have a meeting this Thursday with U City Council to get ready for it. And we also have been, well, we're in the process of working on our master plan overlay, right? Right?
Yes.
And also our ordinances dealing with patio homes and things like that too. Yeah, so we're working on that. But anyway, usually council's doing awesome and.
Okay.
And City Council.
What time that one?
I'm gonna
we
send,
Need to have some officers there. It's,
want me to
from 12
copy you,
2:30.
Stetson?
12 to 2:30,
26th?
pardon?
26th?
October 26th, it's right over here at Henry J. Dooley.
Yeah.
Food trucks there, face painting. We have
Just
a
like that,
different
there it is.
version of the water slide. It's not water slide, it's gonna be a dry slide with sacks and stuff. Like they do at like Corn Bellies and Black Island Farms. That'll be fun.
Dave?
I'd just like to get started again on high performing city training. We kind of took a break there for a little while and I'd really like to kind of step that up. So Amy, I'll just get with you and
Mhm.
we can start putting it on the calendar and start working between police,
Happy to.
police, public works and city administration.
Steve?
I talked to Tyson and chewed him out a little bit about replacing the trees along the pathway. And he's not here today.
Don't do maples.
He emailed me back and said that Bob has plans to pull it out and replant them without some money. So
In now or in the spring?
now,
Is it a good time to plant trees or?
Maples
Okay.
have a hard time here, don't do maples.
Well, it depends on which kind. So we ought to specify
We
what
have
we
an
want
iron
because,
problem. They're all suffering.
well,
but
but that's the
that's-
type
we're
of
not gonna do
maple
that.
though. So
they should have plenty of water with the canal
Linden
there.
trees would do really nice.
Anyway, that's being done. I hate coming across that every tree's dead on the path. And that's
Yeah.
such a nice path and they've done a great job mowing it and keeping the weeds down. I just want to pass that on to whoever. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Trees just really bother me and again, Tyson was very, very good at getting that, checking that. And they're, as they kind of get the park stuff taken care of and wrapped up, that's what they're gonna do. They've got a couple trees at the Shady Lane Park that are dead, trees that we can take down, so.
No, thank you.
I'd just like to see that
Say thank you.
kept up, kept
I'm gonna address that.
Yeah.
up in mind.
Okay.
Happy to raise that and
tree actually.
Case you guys
Walk our
see
city with
pushback.
us, say this.
Phil,
trees
you got anything?
Yep. Nothing. Is that what you're asking?
Yep.
No, sorry, I don't have anything to add.
I got just a couple of things. Number one, in case I've had several people reach out to me, maybe they've reached out to you. It was my newsletter, so they probably reached out to me, but just if people are curious, I've gotten calls, it's like, well, why aren't the parents, okay, doing the payment for these kids and why is it passed on to the taxpayer? And then it's a fair question and I really didn't adequately address it for the vandalism in the parks. So, you know, what I've been telling them is kind of an example is like, let's just say hypothetically, which isn't too far from hypothetical, but hypothetically, let's say we arrest 3 people and they've done $1,000 worth of damage, 3 juveniles. Our first approach is to approach the parents, obviously, and say, find out if the parents are going to handle the problem, which includes restitution. Let's say 2, or let's be more realistic, 1 out of the 3 parents are going to do that. So we charge them $333.33, and they get to keep a penny. But they get 1/3 of the total 1,000. They're not on the hook for the whole 1,000 because there's three involved. The other 2 get referred to juvenile court, which if we were to get any kind of restitution could be $10, could be $40, $50, but generally we're not going to get $333 of restitution from the courts. The courts, I think you explained it best, when you call a case in the court, it's this, if we went to court, it'd be the state of Utah versus Leonard Call. Okay. Juvenile goes to court, it's the state of Utah in the best interest of juvenile Sally Doe. Okay, it's kind of a different mindset, and for whatever reason, restitution doesn't seem to be a big part of it. There is an option, and that would be a civil action against the parents. But it would probably cost us more than $333 to do the civil action against the parent. So I don't know if we set limits, what we want to do, but yeah, that's where we're at. Steve, you have a comment?
There has to be a consequence for something. These little snots are going out there. I mean, I appreciate your newsletter. But these, young
Oh.
kids just going out there and
Yeah,
whatever is a TikTok thing or,
Yeah.
or to destroy stuff. They need to be, I mean, something has to happen to them that's bad enough that gets back to the other kids. We don't wanna do that, especially in Pleasantview, because we're gonna be, we're on the hook, and the parents are on the hook. I mean, I wish parents would take responsibility, but they don't.
right.
They just let their kids go out and do it snot. But I think, I mean, I'd rather pay a little bit to go after, because the parent, it has to start with the parents, or start with the parents, or the kids. I mean, they cannot get away with it, especially if we catch them. We've paid money to put cameras up. We've, you said that you got some of this off of their own Facebook stuff, I get, if that's true. They did that, I don't know, but
TikTok.
TikTok, whatever it is, I want a consequence, I want there to be something. And you can't beat it with a big stick, unfortunately, but something, so these kids do not do it again.
There is something you need to understand about the civil approach too. There is no guarantee the judge, and I think you had a good example when I brought this up, is, I think it was a large case, he was saying like thousands and thousands of dollars, if I remember right, and the judge basically said, let the parents off the hook because the kid was out of control. So it's like,
So we're gonna
so
throw.
society pays
So
because,
we throw it up in
Thousands
the
and
air.
thousands of dollars instead.
I'm not saying it's fair, I'm just telling you the realities.
I want there to be some consequence, whether they have to come in front of us in city council, tell us why they did it. I don't know, but I want there to
Sometimes
be,
do that with
I want there to be a
citizens.
consequence, or can we,
I mean,
make them pull meetings or something?
Yeah, community service or something.
Community service or something. Can
Well,
we-
a lot of times the juvenile court will do,
Spray off the.
Well, I don't wanna hear that they just get off and do nothing. 'Cause
Yeah.
That is what is wrong with America. And
I
hate
agree,
it.
I agree 100%.
And
How do you force them to come and clean it up?
So,
No.
That's-
first off, I think we gotta, cause if there's anybody listening, like.
Yeah.
We do have some parents come and take
Yes.
responsibility and pay, and we're
Yes.
so grateful for those. We have had a few cases that they did come in, they got with, the city and they paid it.
And I bet those kids aren't doing it again.
I bet they're not, yeah.
Yeah,
As far as
that's what we like
making-
to see.
As far as making them come and do community service and stuff, again, in my experience, that's something that we gotta cite them and a judge has to order them to do that, right?
Can you make that recommendation?
And so,
to the
and
judge?
the prosecutor
Or the
can.
prosecutor can?
And I don't know, and I'd have to do some more, I'd have to call the prosecutors. I don't know that, I think the prosecutor can recommend community service. I don't think they can say where they do that.
Yeah.
Community service at. And so
Wonder if-
we try to tell the officers, use your judgment. If the parents show up, like we had one case where the officer calls the parents, two different parents show up, one parent argues with them, how do you know he did it? How do you know how much he did? How much that kid leaves? With the juvenile citation, he probably went down, paid $10 or did whatever. The other kid's dad showed up, had a bucket with him and said, give him the ticket and he's gonna clean it all up. I don't care how much of it he did. Two different perspectives, I think.
Yeah.
And I think what the mayor's saying is, that's where the problem
Yeah.
lies, is
Definitely.
the ones that, most of the time, the kids that aren't that you're gonna stop, they're gonna get stopped either way, their parents are gonna stop them. The ones that aren't gonna get stopped, I don't even think their parents are gonna stop them, nor.
And that is our number one goal. Our number one goal is to help, all other things aside, the number one goal should be to help this kid. I think best help is from the parents making the restitution, paying passing it on to the kid, making the, I mean, one said, oh yeah, we'll pay, and he'll be working it off all summer long, you know, and that's the, yeah, that's what you wanna hear, right? That's perfect.
You know, I don't.
Now go
wanna
tell
see-
your friends what you
I
got.
don't want the kid to have some, you know, some record that's gonna go with them for their life.
Yeah.
But there has to be a consequence. Something.
Absolutely.
Or they don't do it, and we're living in a world where there's no consequence for anything. You can go into a store, well, maybe not here, Utah, but you can go to a store and steal up to $1,000 and they just let you go.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's gonna steal $1,000. If this consequence, this life, and I know I'm an old man and we need to do a study on what's good, what's a good consequence. Even if half of them have a consequence.
My concern about the whole thing is you got officers who are working around the clock in every city, working hard to take care of, solve these problems, right? And they go to a juvenile court and I don't know why they're so lenient. I don't understand
I
why
don't
they're so
either, but-
lenient. But it doesn't make any sense for us to pay millions of dollars in this state for cities and counties and all, well, no, for officers. And when our judicial system won't hold anybody accountable to it. I don't understand that. Like, we might as well not have police departments because they can't hold anybody accountable to it. Gets-
all the way up. I mean,
Well, and the
that's a whole
definition of
nother
accountable is a really
conversation.
difficult
It does get, I know it's a perfect world we're
That's
talking
not
about
just a
here.
juvenile thing.
No, it's all the way up.
Yeah,
It
but-
blows me away. Same thing. I like to watch these crime shows, like cops, and high-speed chases and body cam and so, and you see this chase that goes through 2 states and it lasts for 4 hours and the guy does probably hundreds of $1,000s of damage, wrecking cars and all this. And at the end it says, you know, he was found guilty and got 4 years probation. And you're going, what?
Yeah. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm ready to find out who the judges are and I'm ready to say, if we're not voting for those judges anymore, we're gonna get them out of our system. I don't know if it's their fault or if they can do something
don't know.
different
Do they
about it.
have laws that are?
Do we not have,
Anyway.
do we not have jails?
Are these people all Pleasant View? I mean, the people we found, are
Yeah,
they
they're
all
Yes.
residents of Pleasant
I
View?
know a lot of.
A
them.
lot of the children, and honestly, they're in
think
junior
they're-
high school.
I think
And that's the hard thing is how do you enforce, it's a complex matter.
We
Not
had
juveniles.
do that on Russell's page that post picture, kids' pictures from their Ring doorbell cameras and stuff, and a lot of them are the same kids.
Yeah. Well, the city's not gonna post pictures of juveniles on.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that's the kind
I
of,
don't even think we could tell people what their names are.
No. All right, and the other thing I had is
Public
as
record.
cemetery, just to kind of brief, where we're headed on the cemetery.
You already gave the money away.
No, it's so it's gonna be on like December's planning commission for the subdivision, I think.
Yeah, it's coming up. We've just gotta get this stuff
Yeah, and
notified.
we were supposed to meet today. We were supposed to, Phil and Ann and me and Amy, we're gonna meet today. Kind of start hashing out some terms for an interlocal agreement. With the Ben Lomond Cemetery Maintenance District.
What are their feelings? Can you say anything about that at all? Are they excited or?
Oh, yeah.
They need more space.
Yeah, they need
They're
space. We figure about 8 years what's left on that cemetery.
Are we official enough that we can, start telling people about ground
I think so.
dedicated for it?
Oh, I
think
think
so.
it's already,
I'd like to get
it's
my
been in the
spot
public
picked
meeting,
pretty-
we've already
pretty soon.
mentioned that we have ground.
Pardon?
I wanna get my spot picked pretty soon. I wanna, it's part of my.
So we we rescheduled that, I think, for November 12th. So-
Rescheduled.
Yeah.
My
So it's
computer
not
died.
super big hurry because we don't have the subdivision planned yet, but the maintenance district wants to start doing the surveys for the spaces.
Oh, well, yeah, so is Midland Cemetery District a taxing institute?
Mhm.
So you guys can do the truth and taxation to raise the funds to, oh.
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
So that's where we're at on that. So yeah, if people ask,
oh my gosh.
go ahead and tell them where it's at. I don't think we should put it out on social media or
No.
we're
Not
not that
yet,
far
but
along
it's in
yet.
progress. Yeah.
But if people ask, yeah, and while we're talking about it now in public. Okay. Yeah,
Is
me
there
too.
a-
It's public, it's in
a
progress.
Good layout for some of
Who designs it?
this design, because I mean, you go look at some of the cemeteries and some of them are just beautiful. Just the, man, this is just laid out very well with the trees and the different things. I mean,
I don't know.
do you know what I'm talking about? Some of the,
Well, yeah, we were going to work with the sexton to have it, because he talked about maximizing the spaces for sale, and there's a plan, it's on the board, we can show you too.
7?
About 7, 3 and about 6 and a half. I don't know, there's formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Look that up, I can't remember.
8 by 4. 8 by 4. Yeah, the spaces.
I was just curious how many grades per acre there's 7.
Between
But that's it, so some of, just so you know, so some of the, some of the considerations are, you know, because we're, in the design, there's a, I will call it a trail, but it's a road, you can drive just like that cemetery, that comes down almost through the middle of the cemetery and over to the west, and then up, and it kind of makes a loop, but that far west one, we want on the city's other property, so it's not taking up spaces. And these spaces, we want to space the trail road, so that it doesn't, we don't end up with half spaces, or, you know.
can we do crypts or
They
anything?
could do like
Love
for
grade.
infants and small.
Well, we do want a
For a
section of
cottage.
the,
We need to have
a section of the cemetery for cremains, where there'll be like a 2x2, so.
We're not having a pet cemetery.
Everywhere, 'cause it's like,
Not there.
1,000 spaces is not gonna.
It's not-
1,000 per acre or
It's not
1,000
like per-
total? And is it
1,000 per acre. It's
Okay, so
it's
7
between
per
8 and
acre.
12, so it just depends on
Okay.
the stack.
We just kind of,
All right, anything else?
Everything you're saying, man.
Closed meeting?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close the meeting.
Do we have a closed meeting?
No, we don't.
Oh.
So entertain a motion to adjourn.
Close this meeting.
I'll second Ann's motion.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by Arrington, second by Mary, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Thanks, Phil.
See y'all. Thank you.
The whole thing fell.
Glad the audio works.
Oh, shoot. God.